So I'd like to think that, again, most of you on this call, because you don't want to be thinking or spending the rest of your life thinking, what if? And that's a great link to introduce Phil in terms of right in the middle of I think it was March or April last year, the height of the lockdown, when most people were grimly hanging on to their jobs, or they were already unfortunately being laid off from their jobs. Phil contacted me to help him rethink his whole career and change career. So we're rewind. And Phil, if you can introduce yourself and let everybody know a bit about your background, and then we're going to explore why you made that dramatic call to me and some of the things that happened as a consequence of that.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, like I mentioned earlier, thank you very much for having me on the call, and I really do appreciate it. And it'd be nice to help and share my experience with people. So yeah, I've been in software testing for a number of years. Well, ever since I started my career, really. So 20 odd years. And yeah, it kind of got to a point where there were a number of factors where things came to a head, if you like, which is where I remember I was on the phone to my friend Jackie saying, probably, you know, going through stuff, and she said, you must phone Steve. And then similarly, I was on the phone to my friend Ray, and he said, you must phone this guy called Steve Preston. So yeah, that's kind of where I was. But yeah, absolutely, it's difficult.
If you can just explain, Phil, that you know you had a good job,
Yeah,
well-paid job.
yeah,
You had interest in the company you work for as well.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting because those are it was definitely a very externally validating situation to be in. So from the outside, it looks like things are good and things are going well. But the problem was the internal fulfillment piece just wasn't there. And there were a number of things that caused that. And yeah, it was a difficult realization to come to, but there comes a point where you know, action is required basically to reevaluate everything. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I made the point that 1 in 2 people are in the wrong job and unfulfilled, unhappy and unfulfilled. But I think the other statistics, which I didn't share, is that only around 10% of people ever take any positive action to do anything about it, which is
Yeah,
really scary. That means that a huge percentage of the population, not just in the UK, but around the world, are actually doing jobs that they're unhappy and unfulfilled in.
yeah,
Often, you know, because they're being very well paid for it, or there are other aspects of it which maybe offset the fact that they're not enjoying it. So, you know, what still intrigues me, Phil, and it intrigued me at the time, is
yeah.
after 20 years of doing what you were doing, what was the tipping point? What suddenly tipped you over the edge that after all this time I must do something
Yeah,
positive about this?
yeah, that's a really interesting one. And actually, yeah, it basically got to a tipping point. And one key thing, I guess, is it is a very personal decision. And it's a very individual decision that basically I got to the point of it's the right time for me to walk away. And like you say, after 20 years, it's like, well, what caused that? And I mean, what's right for one person isn't necessarily right for another and stuff. But my situation and what happened with me was the organization that I was in, kind of certainly within the software testing side, you know, the wheels were coming off. A number of customer issues, staff things were happening, delivery issues and morale, etc. So that creates a difficult environment, if you like. And then like you were saying as well, the pandemic hit, and this was absolutely fascinating. I found the pandemic hitting fascinating. Obviously, an awful situation to happen. But the thing that I thought was really fascinating was it wasn't caused by any staff, or it wasn't caused by any customers or anything to do with with any companies. But what it did do was it forced companies' hand to act. So they had to make changes. People couldn't go into the office and these kind of things. And there were some brilliant examples of authentic leadership, some excellent structures put in place by businesses, and some frameworks to support staff through the pandemic. Our organization, the senior management, mandated that everybody should be on Zoom cameras all day, every day, to, as they said, as they say, recreate the office atmosphere and for everybody's well-being. And that didn't really align with my values of trust and authentic leadership and all of this sort of stuff. It was a very fearful, almost lack of trust approach, trying to create an environment, trust kind of, you know.
Well, I get trying to recreate the office environment in a home working situation, but I also know other people, not just clients, but also friends, who were in that same situation where they were basically told, right, log on, camera on, 9 in the morning until you finish at night. And like you say, and the big T word, trust, I mean, that is really awful.
And so I refused to participate in that.
All right.
And yeah, and and then at the same time, I was trying to highlight with the senior, in fact, I was very vocally highlighting with the senior management team all of the issues that I've just spoken about within our department and stuff. And at that time, and they said that Zoom is not the right medium to sort those out. You can't sort that. That has to be done in a face-to-face meeting when everybody can get back in the office. And so it was essentially, you know, a very, how can I put it, hands-off approach to dealing with root cause of issues, if you like, by the senior management team. So I just felt like everything was, you know, there was all sorts of issues, mandate to be on Zoom all day, but you can't use Zoom to resolve issues. And then at the same time, something else I should also mention is that earlier in the year, my dad passed away, which was a real shame. Obviously, it's never nice when that sort of situation happens. And, you know, we had the funeral on the first day of lockdown, not a nice situation. But what happens there is when you have these significant life events, it makes you reevaluate everything. What's important to you? What do you want the next chapter of your life to be? You look back on things and you think, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd said that, and I wish I hadn't done this, and I wish I hadn't done that. And it gives you, you know, it's not a nice experience to go through, but it gives you an opportunity to really think about how you want your next chapter to be. So I had that as well. And then when you look at how the job was going, if you like, out of alignment with my values, and the fact that I had the life event to reevaluate, I thought, actually, what happens if I strip it all back? Do I want to move from one organization to another and get another job in software testing? The reality was, no, I don't. I kind of fell into software testing and just
Like
sort
a
of
lot of people do with their careers.
Yeah. And I was kind of like, I was just in the system of it all, if that makes sense. And you get a couple of years experience on your CV and you build it out on your CV and all of this, and you get promoted and more senior jobs. And then you just think, I don't want to be doing this. You know, I've had enough of all of this. I want to just, it's like, I know a really great guy called John Amici, and he was talking about the pandemic, and he was saying, you know, we don't just want to go back with bits taken out. We've got a fantastic opportunity to wipe the slate clean and design the future as we want it to be. And I thought, you know, I really want to take this opportunity and do that with my career for the rest of my life, because like you were saying, it's so well tied in, work-life balance. So I really took the opportunity, wiped the slate clean and say, how do I want to design this?
So what you're talking about to a large extent, Phil, is how your values suddenly were out of alignment with the
Yeah,
organisation.
yeah,
And you know, we're going to be talking about this in more depth, because values are absolutely key to building a fulfilling career from. And most people, as I'm sure you weren't, Phil, are actually aware of their values
oh
until
yeah,
you actually are in a position where you get to that re-evaluation stage like you were talking about.
yeah,
um, so I mean, it was interesting because you may not even remember this, but I remember on the initial call I had to totally rein you in, which is most unlike me, because I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, because
yeah,
you were ready to walk away the
yeah,
following day, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken. And I said,
absolutely.
well, hang on a minute. Let's, you know,
Yeah,
let's talk about this. Let's work it through. What are
yeah,
the key issues, and so on. So let's look at that.
yeah,
You knew all these things were wrong.
yeah.
You knew you had to walk away. Why didn't you then literally hand in your notice the following day like you were originally planning to do? What made you um, more, or what made you take a more methodical approach, shall we say, Phil?
Well, it was working with you through your process basically, because I had no idea what I was going to do next. I knew everything was out of alignment, but also it was, I was just in a very, very, very difficult situation. I tried to resolve things; it wasn't working, and it was clear that action was required. And I basically through working with you, it was like, right, let's get your ducks in line. Let's make sure that you do this in the best possible way, so you can leave in the best possible way, and you can also design your next chapter in the best possible way. And so, hopefully, where I was working, they can be elevating things in the direction that they want to take things, and I'll be designing my life in the way that I want to design it,
Yeah.
basically. So I remember we had to go through, like, because you've got all these thoughts in your mind at the time, and you're just like, I want to press the eject button, I want to get out of there. But it was kind of like you say, reining me back in and just making sense of it all. It's a load of kind of fearful statements and stuff. So much of it is mindset.
Yeah.
Getting in the right mindset, clearing out all the garbage, all the weeds, and just making sense of it all, basically. So some of the things we did, like I remember going through the fearful statements exercise with you about turning your fears into focus. And really trying to, exactly like we were just saying, reframe that mindset. I also remember, like, you were talking about the emotional roller coaster. That's true. When you're going through a difficult time in anything, work or life, you do visit the valley, as they say, but don't buy real estate there. Acknowledge it and focus on moving on. So and so that it was that kind of thing. It was like, right, let's do it in a structured, proper way, using these objectives to get you into the best place so you can deliver the best possible service, with however you choose to take your life forward. So yeah.
Yeah. So clearly my 6-step career navigation cycle process, um, I know resonated with you, Phil.
Yeah.
And for those who are watching who don't know about that, some of it will become more self-evident. But the first step is let go and look forward. And I remember you realized you had a huge amount of things to let go of, as most people do.
Yeah, totally. And even I remember doing that in-depth review. We were like really digging deep to find out exactly where you are. And even like when I was answering some of the questions, it's really understanding what's the root cause of that, what's underneath that, so you can really understand the real meaning of what people are saying, so you know how to move forward on those things. And other things as well, like I remember we went through, do you remember toolkit for life exercise on reframing. You know, change your thoughts, change your life, basically, was what that was talking about, because, you know, mindset is so important.
But what was holding you back, Phil, and what holds so many other people back, to a large extent, a lot of it was belief, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
The belief
fear.
in that you could walk away and ultimately change your career.
Yeah, yeah, it was fear, basically. You know, it was fear of the pandemic, it was the fear of the unknown, it was, also a big fear was, I didn't want to get another job. If I wanted to get another job, that would have been not relatively straightforward, but it's a more within your comfort zone, because you find
Yeah,
another job first and then you hand your notice in and off you go.
yeah,
I knew that I wanted to leave and press the pause button
yeah,
and take time out. So it was that fear as well. How do you even do that? You
yeah.
know,
So it's
we're
having
always,
a proven process to follow. So
yeah,
as we said, Phil, so much of this comes back to values.
yeah.
And going through that values assessment, that activity, what did it tell you? What did you learn about yourself, Phil? And
Oh, it's
what
fascinating.
conclusions did you come to as a result of that? Because so few people ever do this work. I mean, for those who don't know, values are arguably the things you hold dear in life, your key
Yeah.
drivers, your motivators, and to a large extent, what gets you up in the morning.
Yeah, yeah. So I remember that exercise very well, because we did it with the cards, didn't we? And it's like 80 odd cards for 80 different values, because everybody's different. Different people have different values. And it is putting the cards into the piles of, you know, what's important to you and stuff. It's very, very draining, because you've got to put so much attention and focus. You want to get the most out of it, you know, so that you can make the best decisions moving forward. So it's very, you know, it takes a lot of mental power to do that. What I remember, like kind of like we were just saying earlier, it's very personal what your values are, and also it changes and all of this sort of stuff. But I remember, you know, you go through that process, and then, you know, how you were like challenging me on them, actually, and saying, well, what about this one and why that? Or, you know, it really made you really think, right, what are my values? And then we got down to, I think it was 10, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And you can basically grade your current job, previous job, or what you want to do against those 10. And it really shows kind of how out of alignment you are, and what needs to change in what specific areas that's important to you, that resonate with you, to get you back on alignment. And, you know, there are some times where, say a situation I was in, where it's just easier to draw a line under the current situation, and say, right, you know, it is time to move on. So it really helps bring clarity in who you are as a person and what's important to you for the service that you're delivering, and clarity on making the next steps moving forward, and clarity on, if you get another opportunity with something, is that right for you?
yeah, absolutely. No, that's really well put, Phil. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I say your values are basically what's important to you in your career and life, and why. And why is key, because it's the driver, it's the call to action.
Yeah.
And they say people rarely do this work, and unless they're called to do it for extreme circumstances.
Mm,
But understanding your values is the key part of this process and my courses, and it's the foundation to build a fulfilling career from. Because if you don't know what's important to you in your career and life and why, how can you align the right job or career around that? So that's,
yeah.
yeah, so that's really key. So in terms of then deciding not to walk away from your job right at the outset, how did you decide to plan your strategy, Phil? Because that changed completely.
Yeah. So I think it was kind of I remember we did this like financial, was it like called a survival thing, or, you know,
Survival
uh,
budget, yeah.
yeah, and that helps a lot, because, in fact, I mean, COVID actually helped with that realization, because survival budget of what you need, on a day-by-day basis or week by week or month by month. Certainly before COVID, for me anyway, it was like more like subscription to my badminton club or whatever it is. Of course, all of that was off. So you just had a very, very minimalist survival budget. And then you thought to yourself, actually, you know, that's actually a really good goal to aim towards, to enable you to take a bit of breathing space while you decide what you're going to do next. Yeah. And once you know that, then you can get that into alignment with what you're aiming towards from a financial perspective, because, you know, we've all got responsibilities and stuff. And what you don't want to be doing is pressing the eject button and neglecting financial responsibilities and dependence or whatever it is. So that really helped me take the step back and decide. And then the other thing is because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew my values, was actually, what is my true marketability? What is Phil? What am I going to be delivering? What is the complete package of my own personal branding? Didn't know. And do you remember we did this brilliant exercise? It was the proudest achievement.
Yeah.
And that was it. And almost shows you how much out of alignment I was with work, actually. I remember, because you said make sure it's at least one from work and at least one from personal life.
Yeah.
And I remember I had one from work and loads from personal life, and you said usually it's the other way around or something. But anyway, and that was really good, because as I was thinking of these proudest achievements myself, I think one of them wasn't it like running a marathon and all the targets you've got to do for that, the training and the discipline and everything. I probably came up with 2 or 3 skills and 2 or 3 attributes. And I remember you were asking me questions and challenging my thinking and all of this sort of stuff. And you came out with like 2 or 3 pages worth. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize I had that much to offer. There was loads, wasn't there? All sorts of different stuff, so and just knowing that and seeing it there, and somebody else's view and somebody else's vision of what it is that you've got to offer. And then you tie that in with the values that we went through, then just going through that actually meant, right, okay, I now know what it is that I've got to offer, what my personal branding is. So that was really good. So that was another element that just sort of reined me in while I was understanding exactly what it is that I'm going to be offering.
Yeah, brilliant. And again, for all those watching, you might not be aware, but most people and most career coaches, arguably, and career consultancies, for a better term, focus on people's key skills. That's their major focus. But what they don't do is focus on what, as Phil described there, your complete package, or your true marketability, as I call it, which is basically your skills, your attributes, your achievements, your strengths, your knowledge, your connections, your passions, your interests, and the list goes on forever. But most importantly, as Phil's alluded to, not just from in work, but also in life in general. And the activity that Phil alluded to, which is a key part of my coaching and my courses as well, the Proudest Achievement activity, that really fleshes out a whole load of stuff that people wouldn't normally think of. And it opens up a whole new world of possibility. So all of a sudden, you don't just have a list of skills, you have a whole list of attributes, attitudinal things, and so on. So you're looking at the full picture of who the person is. And basically I say that's who you are and what you have to offer the world. And then when you go through that activities you did, Phil, then all of a sudden, and a lot of people do this, they might think, well, you know what, maybe with all these skills and attributes I got, maybe I don't want another job.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to be employed. Maybe I don't want to work for somebody else. Maybe I want to start my own business. And I know
Yeah.
that sort of sowed the seed of doubt in your mind as well, didn't it?
Yeah, well, previously as well, I'd always been like freelance in software testing, and I'd always liked the freelance element, if you like, because you go in, you deliver service, and then you leave, and any sort of politics and other stuff is left because you're a freelancer. But it's certainly sowed that seed of doubt of, there's got to be other things as well in which you can, create like a portfolio career, because even when you're freelance, you're still kind of bound to the larger company and what they're saying and all of everything like that. It truly give you that blended working lifestyle, which I really wanted to try and achieve, because what I didn't want was any regrets and
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay, again, for those watching, let me just explain some of the things Phil said there, because you may not come across these terms before, but portfolio career is where you earn income from a number of different activities, mainly passions, interests, talents, and so on, but different income streams. So you're not reliant on one type of activity. And again, one of the key things that the COVID pandemic has proven beyond all shadow of doubt is the typical one job, one type of self-employed work paradigm is clearly broken. You'd only need something like the pandemic to happen, and all of a sudden, bang, you've lost all your income, whether it be employed or self-employed, if you're just doing one thing. So the portfolio career option spreads the risk, it spreads the safety net, so you haven't got all your eggs in one basket. Now, portfolio careers, how to work for passion, pleasure, and profit was my third book, and I've been a great advocate of the portfolio career lifestyle, working lifestyle for many, many years, but it's not for everybody. I'll be the first to admit that. But what Phil also alluded to there is three key words: blended working lifestyle. And that's something that I talk about in relation to particularly the portfolio career approach, because it's not just about the work you do, it's blending into that other aspects that are important to you in your life. And that could be family related things, it could be leisure related things, it could be community based things, it could be include volunteering, whatever. It's different for everybody, as Phil rightly said. But I'm convinced that 2021 is going to see an explosion in portfolio career workers, because people have come to this realization that the reliance on one job or one type of self-employed work is really very or super insecure nowadays. And especially if you have something that is an income stream, which is an online income stream, then you're hugely protected by any external factors.
Mm.
And of course, Zoom are the best example of that, because they must have been one of the greatest benefiters of the pandemic. So yeah, more, and that's another thing that I'm sure everyone on this webinar has seen so many posts on social media over the last year, people talking about how they now have rethought their working lifestyle, and people working from home. I know there's pros and cons of that. Some hated it, but a huge percentage love that freedom and flexibility to work from home. So it completely changed their thinking about what might be possible. So maybe I could run a business from home. Maybe I could do different stuff where it's not going into an office. Or if I do go into an office, maybe that's only part of what I do. So I think the key message for everyone tonight is that in the 21st century digital age, there are many, many ways, there are numerous ways of earning a living. So it's important to broaden your thinking around what might be possible. And some of these things that Phil's talking about, which is based around my 6-step process, once you have reevaluated what's important to you in your career and life and why, which is step 2, and once you establish your true marketability, understand who you are and what you've got to offer, which is step 3, then you can move to the point of thinking, all right, so what can I do with all that, which is exploring opportunities. So Phil, maybe you want to share what you've been doing since you've got to that stage, having got all this key information out, which helped you get much greater self-awareness about yourself, how you then started to dip a toe in the water, if you like, and start exploring what might be possible.
Yeah, so what's really fundamental there is essentially kind of, yeah, like you say, using network and becoming a detective, if you like. There's so many different ways of approaching work now. So it's not just a case of, you know, update your CV, send it off to an agent or anything like that. It is, you know, going to networking events, using Zoom, the people around you, you know, people in your, you know, circle, and even people slightly more removed from that. I mean, I bump into people in the town that I haven't seen for a long time. They've probably had 2 or 3 different jobs, and they're all really interested in what you're doing now and all of this kind of stuff. So so yeah, it's about using that network, and importantly, being opportunistic with everything as well. So it's like, and also knowing where you've been as well, and all that skill and experience. So essentially, what I'm doing now is, since I've moved away from the corporate lifestyle, if you like, is I'm not earning as much money. So this isn't one of those follow this process and you earn bucket loads of cash and millionaire or whatever, you know. However,
you're still on the journey.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. What's already happened within the 3 months that I finished and where I am now is I am spending my time working on the things that I enjoy with people I enjoy working with. And also I'm spending more time with friends and family. And I specifically use the word spending time then, because we all get a limited amount of time. You know, everybody just gets 24 hours in a day, and it's important how you spend that time. And I'm enjoying how I'm spending that time. I'm creating this flexible portfolio career that, fingers crossed when we can, allows me to travel, you know, as and when I want, basically. And I've pretty much stopped doing the things that I don't like doing. So, you know, I'm working through becoming a career coach to coach people, and my first coachee is completing step 6 of your cycle tomorrow, which will be absolutely brilliant. And it's really fascinating, because you can really deliver good service when you've been through the process, when it's happened to you. That's the difference. If it's training, that's separate. You're just telling somebody how to do something. When you've been through it, you can mentor them through it, you can coach them through it, and that really makes a big difference. And because you're coaching, you understand what it is, you know, the person, and everybody's unique and all of this kind of stuff. Very fulfilling. I'm also still keeping going with the software testing, but in a completely different perspective. I've signed affiliate work and associate work with software testing service providers, software testing tool providers, because, you know, I've had 20 odd years in the field. So I've got a lot of contacts. You know, people see me as a person of trust in the industry and of value. And so people are still coming to me with software testing. And what I initially did was I turned it down, the work down, because it was out of alignment with my values and where I wanted to go, as I was saying. And it's actually quite powerful doing that, because you're reiterating and you're reaffirming where you want to go and what your alignment is. And actually, the places respect you for saying, thank you very much, but it's not for me. But I've always recommended somebody else, that is a suitable fit, that may be interested. But then what I've actually done is officially partner with some of these service providers. And we've got, I've done some brilliant pieces of software testing work. And I've actually got some really big meetings coming up that would be brilliant as affiliates with software testing.
Can I just stop you there a minute, Phil? So
Yeah.
I'll stop you in the track, but you touched on something which is absolutely fundamental, and it's key to the whole career change process, because and I share this in my books and in my courses and on my coaching, as you know, Phil, just because you're good at something doesn't mean to say that you have to continue to do it moving forward. However, there is a caveat within that. What you've highlighted there, Phil, is exactly what I did when I set up my business 20 years ago, is I chose the pieces of work I wanted to do and I outsourced the rest. And basically, and that was before I was doing the career and personal development stuff. But you can then say, okay, well, I'm going to do this stuff, and this is the sort of stuff I want to be doing, but I'm only going to work with these type of people. So you're choosing the work you do, the people you work with, and also, very importantly, like you shared there, Phil, and I did the same, the people you collaborate with.
Mm.
And then you don't necessarily have to have that as your mainstream.
No.
That's just something you're doing because you know there's going to be a demand for it and you're good at it, and you can pretty much do that in your sleep, if you like, without too much stress. And then you can build up other stuff alongside that. And you've been very sort of modest, Phil, because I cannot believe how many connections you developed and how many people are approaching you about all sorts of stuff.
Oh, it's
because
brilliant.
they're intrigued about what you're up to. And also, and I remember we had quite a discussion about this in terms of how to frame your situation on LinkedIn. And you just want to share how you put your strapline and why.
Yeah, interesting. It's on LinkedIn. It's just being. Because we're always taught so often that we should be doing something. And you see on LinkedIn sometimes people have got really big job titles, or they say they're a speaker, this, a load of stuff on there. And I thought, I don't want to be somebody else's version of what I should be. I want to live my life and make my life a masterpiece. It's very personal to me, as we said at the start.
Architect of your own future.
Yeah. And I just want to just take time to be and just enjoy life, just press the pause and see what happens. And like you were saying, it's been fantastic. There's been loads of positive responses saying, love the idea of just being. But there's also been loads of people that have been saying, that is a really bold, brave move to take. And here's support here, here's support there, in so many different ways, and so many people wanting to work with me in various different ways, either directly on projects, collaborations, affiliate schemes, lots. And so I've turned far more down than I've actually taken, because I just want time to create it in the way that I want it to
absolutely be. And just to fill in the gap that maybe people are wondering what you're saying about career coaching, and Phil's not the first client I've worked with, but in this situation, but because you enjoyed the voyage of self-discovery so much yourself and what came out of it, that Phil's on my career coach development program. So I'm actually coaching and mentoring Phil to do what I do. And along with a client before Phil as well, the two of them are now sort of collaborating together as well. And I see them being the future, and they are going to be the career casters of the future, which is absolutely fantastic. So I think, Phil, if it's okay, I think we better call it a day.